Hello, world. Welcome to Queering Science, Theology, Philosophy, and Spirituality. This is part. This is the LGBTQ Center for science, philosophy, spirituality, and theology. And we are going back to what we were discussing about death is living and staying in the planet at the same time. We want to talk about death philosophically, theologically, scientifically, and spiritually. And we had just done part one where we were discussing about death, especially in the LGBT community, because we lost a brother recently. And we've also, in the same country, that's Kenya, we also had a terror attack that happened last week. So people are in a somber mood of mourning and trying to solve issues since people died after years of not having terror attacks. People have been dying, and but I've already explained the issue of terrorism. I've already explained the issue of HIV, and so now we're going to part two of the death. Is why did I want to discuss about this? Because when I was looking at people's reaction about the death of loved ones, many people, when you really love someone and when they die, it really affects you. Even in psychological circles, there's what you call PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And this happens because a traumatic experience like the death of a loved one happens. And one of the reasons why people behave like that is because the the effect first of all, the effect of the consequence of losing a loved one, number one, and number two, the misunderstanding of life and death. That's another part. And it's the part of theologians and philosophers to teach people about life and death. Because personally, I've reached a point in my life whereby I studied death and knew death and knew life inside out to the point of I'm now at peace. Even when someone dies, I am really not that affected. Not that I'm not affected and not that I don't mourn, but I understand the I have an understanding of death. And of course, as I told you, I also tried to commit suicide one time and it didn't work. And that was the time I was really trying to understand death and life. You know, life was not understandable. And then after that experience, I went to church. And of course, the churches I was picking and choosing until I got an LGBTQ affirming church. That was the best church I found because it's a peaceful church, it's inclusive, and it was saying exactly what I believe in. Yes. And I know some people are very, you know, why do churches need to say they're inclusive? Is because the failure to say you're inclusive means you exclude people from churches. And it's very wrong to exclude anybody, especially from a place of spiritual nourishment, because God is found in everybody. That's what the Bible says. The everybody. You cannot judge anybody for anything, you know. And but some churches make a mistake. They come, they say we don't want prostitutes in church. We don't want as who, Remember when Jesus was teaching, Jesus taught in the open. That his church was in the open and everybody was in the audience. All kinds of people, the poor, the rich, the religious leaders, politicians, prostitutes, gays, Everybody, heathens, barbarians, Gentiles. And he used to go and sit sometimes on the hill, or sometimes he would go into the temple. And he never, in fact, when we did another video about the inclusivity of Jesus. Jesus never chased people out of his teachings. Yes, never. So I really cry when I see churches that are very exclusive and they don't want certain people to come because they believe they are sinners and then they are not. You see, that's a very dangerous teaching. And Jesus, for information, he prophesied that that will happen in the last days before he comes. They will chase you out of the churches. They will even beat you up in the synagogues. That's what he said. It's in the scripture. And that's what happened. Paul, all of these guys, they were beaten. Paul was almost beaten to death. He had to play dead because the people were very angry with what he was saying. You see, the issue of theology and philosophy is that when you speak something very powerful or something that's very new and it's not understood, people can get very affected. Yes, that speech, as I told you in the other video, Jesus died because of speech. Yesterday was Martin Luther King Jr.'s day. Do you know why they remember him? He was killed because of his speech. Yes. And do you know why we have constitutions that protect freedom of speech? So that people are not killed for what they say. Because that is what happened. UDHR was already passed by the time Martin Luther King was speaking. And we're going to do a video about Martin Luther King Jr. Yes, in honor of him and to show you the power of speech. It's that powerful. So what am I trying to say? Jesus never excluded people. In fact, exclusion started in the church after Jesus Christ left. Remember, Jesus was not a Christian. The name Christian came after he left. Jesus was not a Christian. Jesus' job was to come. His job is to come back as the Messiah, the King of Israel and the world. That is what he's coming back for. It is nothing else. So he was not even coming back to come back and teach people again. No, he was not coming back to teach people. He was coming back to be king. This is why they did not need a new name, like Israel was going to get a new name. No, it was going to remain Israel, and the capital of the world is going to be Jerusalem, and he will rule from there. That was the plan. And you see, Peter, all of the disciples, they were politicians. They were with him. This political movement was a spiritual one. They were politicians who had power. This is why Christians were persecuted. Do you know why they were? Do you know how many religions were in the world the time Christians were being persecuted? Over 200 religions. So why did the Roman Empire single out Christianity? It was because it was political. So that's what you need to know. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that. Let's get back to this. We finish, then we'll talk about that later on. Now, death. Scientifically, death is the cessation of life, and life can cease in very many ways. One thing you need to know about the body is made up of cells, and when these cells die, you die. When most cells, and the more cells die, the more you die. That's why we are living at the same time we are dying. Yes, like today, you are living, you are alive, but you're dying. And to have a natural death means your cells will degenerate. Like right now, as I'm speaking, there are cells in my body that are degenerating. Now, what keeps me healthy is the regeneration of the dead cells, because that's what happens in the body. Every time your cells degenerate, they regenerate. You see, like the red blood cells, they die, then they regenerate. Like you see, whenever you go and shave or bathe, when you bathe, you clean, the skin comes out. That is death. But because your skin still has regenerative power, it replaces those skin cells that came out when you went to bathe. The reason why I'm balding is because this part of my head, the cells are dead. I used to have hair when I was young, thanks to the 10 years challenge. I put my photo there. I had a lot of hair here. But because I'm growing old and because my genetic code is that I'm too bald down, this has gone. So here, this part of my head, they are dead hair cells. They cannot regenerate. But for those who have regenerative hair cells, when they shave, the hair grows back again because the cells are still alive. So, for information, no, my head is, this part of my head is gone because no hair has grown. Every time if I leave my hair, this will grow, but this shiny part remains. So that's genetics, and some people die older, young, because of the anti-growth hormone. There's a hormone. There's some people who grow very fast. They look older than their age, and it's because of certain hormones. So some of us, we die early not because of anything, but because it is hormonal. And others live long because, again, of hormones, genetics, you know, and mitochondrics. Yes, because I remember my mother was telling me of, she lost her mother last year, and she told me she has an uncle who is 100 years old, and he was the brother to her mother. Then I told her that's the mitochondria of the family. It has longevity. And you know, mitochondria is the cell that gives energy to the cell. It's the organelle. It's the organ that gives power to cells. So if you, people who live long, it is mostly because of the mother's line, because mitochondria is the one that powers your cells, and death and life is in the cell. So that's what you need to understand. Some people will live long not because of anything that they are good, like some people claim, but it's because of nature. Yeah, it is genetic, it is mitochondric. These days I coined the word mitochondrics because I felt people are ignoring the female input in the life of a human being, and it's very important. And people need to understand that about mitochondrics. Yes, genetics is purely male domination, and mitochondrics is purely female, because we all get mitochondria from the female, and we all get then all men get Y from their father, or the male. Okay, so that's death in scientific form. It is cell death. When the cells can't regenerate, you are dying. So that's why, as I'm speaking to you now, if I stay like this and I don't have an accident in the next 30 years, it doesn't mean I'm not dying. I'm dying because you'll see my skin will now start becoming wrinkled, doing that, tired. And this is why the scientists who want to make people to live forever, they have to work on cell regeneration. I just saw a very nice article last week that said people want to try and inject stem cells into dead bodies. Do you know that could work? Yes, because life is regeneration of the cell. So what you do, inject enough stem cells in the body to go and resuscitate the dead cells. People will come back to life. So when I had that experiment, they are doing it, they are planning to do it, and you wait and see. The secret to live forever is coming. It's coming. Because once they find out that all you need to do is inject stem cells into a human being to revive them, then not only will you be injecting stem cells in people when they're 80, you start injecting when the death comes. You know, when you're now wrinkling, that's when you inject. So that you don't wrinkle. You look healthy. Yes, by the time you're 100, you have no wrinkle. Because you're always injecting stem cells to revive the dead cells. So we wait and see what these scientists will do. But I have a feeling they will crack the code of immortality. And we may live for very long. Very long. I know the presidents who are waiting for that thing to come. They can't wait. You know, like Museveni. I know if he gets that, that's the end. Because he has already destroyed term limits and age limits. So all he needs to do is live long. Yeah, you're joking with Museveni. He may even live to 200 years old because science is getting better. Yes. Science is getting better. He may live to be 200. He's joking. Even he's joking with himself. You know, you don't extend your life. I'm telling you, people, we are living in a very interesting time in the world. Extremely. There's a very nice channel I've subscribed to, Infinite Waters. And that guy is very in tune with the time. We are living in a transhuman century. You know what transhuman is? It's a Homo Deus century, as Yuval Harari also said. It is the combination of science and technology and biology. All the sciences are coming together, and we are getting secrets that have never been known in the world before. It's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful time we're living in, because you see, humans are a computer. Naturally, we are computers. What is a computer? A computer is a calculator. Now, because of being a computer, every computer has its structure. So what scientists have done, they have studied the whole human body, and they know every part. In the year 2000 BC, the doctors of that day did not know the body parts of the body like we know. You see, we are in 2000, and when the 2000 AD, 2000 BC, they had doctors, but they were very basic doctors. Very basic. Their knowledge on the human body was so weak. So that's why they even died very early, because they didn't know what was killing people. But today, are you seeing what's happening in the world? Old people are still alive because of science. So what does this mean? The doctors of today are better than the doctors of yesterday. Not that they have better brains, because we are still Homo sapiens, but they have more knowledge. We now know the body. Without the X-ray, we would not have seen the inside parts of us. But now, they are even drawing the smallest parts in the body. Even with the nanotechnology, they are sending small robots inside the body to go and treat diseases. In Japan. It's unbelievable. So I believe that man is going to resuscitate a dead body scientifically. That's where we are. We are entering the Aquarian age of science. It's the new age. Yes, the new world order. We have entered. And people say that, oh, the New World Order. I used to say it in my old blog. I used to say it was the Antichrist order. It's not. It's the Jesus Christ is coming back for that. Those who believe Jesus Christ is King of Kings, he's coming for he's going to be head of the New World Order. Yes, that's what it says in the Bible. The kingdoms of this world have become the kingdom of our God and of his Christ. Yes. So he's not coming to destroy the system. He's going to use it. And remember, we're still doing the series of Tower of Babel. Why did God stop them? Why? He's powerful. Why did he stop sinners? These guys were sinners. It's because they were clever. They are gods. Has God ever stopped America because they built the space shuttle to go to NASA? I mean, to the moon through NASA? Never. Why did he not stop them? You see, wisdom is God. Science is God. And we're going to do that video. Okay, let's finish this. We can talk about that. Now, Jesus was one day asked a question. And they asked him a question that was like this. The same day came to him the Sadducees, that's Matthew 22 verse 23, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked him. So the Sadducees are people who don't believe in resurrection. They were the atheists of that day. Yes. People thought they were no atheists in those days. They were there. Sadducees were atheists. Sadducees worked in the temple. And they gave up on the miracles that used to happen in the temple. You know, now the temple was no longer miraculous as it used to be. You know, clouds come inside, I don't know what. And then after that Maccabee, the war with the Greeks, then it became the temple of Jupiter before the Jews took it and now made it. Yes, it was a temple of Jupiter, Roman god. And then Herod was the one who refashioned it. We'll do that when we discuss about the temple of Jerusalem. So Sadducees never believed in resurrection. They never believed in spirits, that there's a demon, there are angels. They never believed. They were very atheist. So when they asked Jesus a question, see what I'm telling you about Jesus, he was so inclusive. He never stopped anybody to come and ask him a question. That you're a Sadducee, don't come, you don't believe. He accepted them. So they said, and this which say that there's no resurrection. So they say there's no resurrection of human beings. And asked him, saying, Master. You see, master, but it's actually rabbi, which means teacher. So teaching is spiritual. Never play with it. Master said, if a man die having no children, his brother shall marry his wife and raise up seed unto his brother. Now, there with us 7 brethren. 7. 7 brethren. And the first, he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife unto his brother. Likewise the second also, and the third unto the 7th. And the last of all the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, which they don't believe in the resurrection, whose wife shall be of the 7? For they all had her. Jesus answered and said unto them, Ye do err, not knowing the scriptures nor the power of God. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven. But as touching the resurrection of the dead, Have you not read that which was spoken unto you by God, saying, I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob? God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. And when the multitude heard this, they were astonished at his doctrine. Yes, when somebody teaches you something very new, you will be shocked. That's what they did when he said that. Now, Jesus said very interesting things. First of all, he said, in the resurrection. So, the resurrection is a time span. There's something that's going to happen called a resurrection, which Jesus believed. Jesus was closer to the Pharisees than the Sadducees, because the Pharisees believe in the resurrection and they believe in demons and angels. But Sadducees don't believe in all of those. They are just atheists who culturally practice religion. They don't attach spirituality to religion. So now Jesus told them that there's no marriage in the resurrection, and people will be as the angels of God in heaven. So his answer was, when this woman and her 7 husbands resurrect, they will not be married. They will all become angels. You see? So what does this mean? When you die, you become an angel. That is the lesson. Because there is no resurrection that has happened. So when you die, you become an angel. You become a spirit. That is what being an angel is. Angels are just spirits. And spirits don't really have sex. But the problem with this teaching of Jesus Christ, it clashes with the story in Genesis 6 of the angels who came and had sex with women and they gave birth to giants. So some people argue and say that, why does Jesus say these people won't marry? Now, it could be, I don't want to go into that topic of the marriage because that's not what we're talking about. We'll talk about angels one time. But I think there are 2 things. Number one, the resurrection is a different time in the calendar of humanity, whereby the people, when the resurrection happens, we will become like angels of God. And then secondly, there are different types of angels. Diversity is the principle. So not all angels are the same. There are even archangels, there are seraphs, there are cherubims, there are angels that look like man, there are angels that look like women, there are angels that, the women who carried the bag of wickedness. They had wings. They were women. Those were female. And most people didn't know that women can be angels. Yes, they are messengers, So that's what you need to understand. Some people don't understand. You don't know the scriptures. You err because you don't know the scriptures. That's why you need to know the Bible for you to ask good questions and to get answers. I still read the Bible much as I read science. Yes. And I've read it from the first page to the last page. It's important. Everybody, which novel do you read and you don't finish it from the first to the last page? Then have you read the novel very well? You haven't. So this is also like a novel. You have to read from page 1 to last for you to understand the whole thing that is being said. So, but he said this, but touching the resurrection of the dead, and this is where we're finishing. Have you not read that which was spoken unto you by God, saying, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. God is not the God of the dead, but the living. So when he said that, people collapsed. They could not believe it. What was Jesus trying to say? He was trying to say, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why did God say he's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? And they were already dead. And then God cannot be the God of the dead, meaning God cannot say, I'm the God of the late Abraham and God of the late Isaac and God of the late Jacob. He said, I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is because when these people died, they just left the planet, but they went to another place. And this is why we're now saying the title of this video is Death is Living and Staying in the Planet at the Same Time. Now, what stays in the planet? Your earth body. This is what remains in the planet. I remember when Winnie Mandela died, and I posted on Facebook a comment that as they bury her, her remains, her body is going to remain in the earth, but her psyche, her spirit will go to the infinite world, to another world of time. And so someone was so shocked. They said, "What? Yes, yes." I said, "Yes. That's what death is. Your body, this one, it remains here because it belongs here. But your spirit does not belong here. It goes back. And because you're a spirit, you can't be seen. You see, you can't. What I mean, you can't be seen, you can't be physically sensed. Because why can't you be physically sensed after death? Your body is buried. It's in the earth. It's already there. So for you to come back, you have to get that body back. However, the problem we have with that, much as we are a Christian or religious center, we are also a scientific center. And that's why we have to keep on questioning religion. Yes, never fear to question religion. I've told you science is God, and I'll show you in the next video. Now, the religion, I mean, not religion, science will question, like what Paul said. Paul said that in the last days, people will resurrect, and those who are buried in the sea or wherever, they'll come out. So the mistake of that, the problem of that definition is these people thought that the body doesn't decompose. But however, I think that's wrong. We can't say that they didn't know the body decomposes, because the body decomposes. Reason being, when Elisha died, Elisha was a prophet of God, very powerful prophet. He died, he was buried in a tomb. Now, when they were carrying a sick person or a dead person, and then some robbers came. Sorry, I'm paraphrasing the story because I can't recall it offhand. And what they did, they threw the dead person into the tomb of Elisha. When the body touched the bones of Elisha, the person came back to life. That's the story that they told. So what does it tell you? The bones of Elisha still had power. And remember, even in the story, in some gospel writings, I think it's Jude, when Moses died, the angel of the Lord fought with Satan to take the bones of Moses. Why? Because Moses' bones had power. Anybody who has had connection to glory, even his body is powerful. Even his blood, all of those things, very powerful. That's why you see the Holy Grail, the movies like the Holy Grail, the robe, the shroud. People really value anything that had touched the blood of Jesus, or Jesus touched. People want it because they understand the power. That's why even Da Vinci Code, when he wrote about Jesus having children, it was not necessarily Jesus having children, but it is his brothers and sister. I believe if Jesus Christ had the mitochondria of his mother, That is what we need to understand. If Jesus Christ had the mitochondria of his mother, that mitochondria is still in the world today. That's what people need to understand. The mitochondria is still in the world because he had brothers, Yoses, Jude, another one. We'll go through the list. So I think Da Vinci Code maybe lied that Jesus had children because he never sired. And sometimes I think Jesus was a hijra. He was a eunuch. Sometimes. And not a eunuch of, not born a eunuch, but he could have. We don't know. People need to understand we really even don't know Jesus Christ very well. Yes. We don't know him physically. They do not even tell us. The only thing we know, he was circumcised. That's all. But we don't know whether he was a circumcised eunuch, or he became a eunuch, or he was. So those are the things about Jesus' sexuality are still not clear. So you can say anything. That's why I am in the school of thought Jesus was gay. Yes, because he stayed with disciples. John used to like sleeping on his chest. So maybe Jesus was quite a nice bodied man. And John was called the one that sleeps on his bosom. And it was a habit. So you can imagine how many times, every time he's going to Jesus, yeah, oh, yeah, tell us that story again. And he's on him. So, yes, to me, Jesus was gay. And, and of course, or a eunuch. Even eunuchs are gay. Yes, there are eunuchs who are gay. And okay, that's enough of that. But so by that being gay, he didn't have children. If he had children, believe you me, these disciples would have screamed. They would have written in power that they were children. So what I think Da Vinci Code or Dan Brown is trying to just say is that the blood of Jesus' family, Mary's blood, is in the world. That is what he is saying. Mary's blood is in the world, and it is somewhere. It's with the family. And remember, when your mother is the one who really gives you your blood, especially if she's not from the tribe of your father. So, but Mary and Joseph, both of them were Judean. They were all from the tribe of Judah. So, their blood is in the world, especially the blood of Mary. That is the most important blood, because so we have to find the mitochondria where it went. Some people say it went to Europe, because others say it went to Africa. Reason being, the blood of Mary, Israel was attacked in AD 70, and from that attack, Jews were scattered. They left Israel. Almost 100% of Jews left Israel because the Roman attack was so vicious. Many died. As I told you, in the Masada, they committed suicide, mass suicide, to avoid capture. Because why I think it went to Europe is because when the Romans went to Jerusalem, they told the Israelis that you either come with us, we take you as slaves, or we kill you. So these Jews who were on Masada said to themselves, it's to serve a Roman, to serve a Gentile. No, we'd rather die. So they died. They committed suicide. Now the ones who did not commit suicide, they were taken to Rome. So that's what could have happened to Jesus' brothers, because his brothers may have married. Jesus didn't marry, but that doesn't mean his brothers didn't marry. They married, and so they have their children. So if the story of Jesus Christ is true, I always have to put benefit of doubt for my friends who don't really believe the story of Jesus Christ. And my atheist friends, yes, atheists are still my friends, and but theists are also my friends. And now, because I'm theist, I talk about it like a theist. So having that the story of Jesus Christ, of course, benefit of doubt that it's true, then it could be that the mitochondria of Mary is still in the world. Yes, it is in the world and may have gone through few mutations. And because if they move to Europe, when you change climate, your cells change. Even your sperm can change. Just try it. Go and release sperm in Africa when it's very hot, then go to Europe during winter and release sperm, or live there for a very long time, then release sperm. You'll find your something will mutation happens. That's why mutations. When we study genetics, we will discuss about why there is mutation in the genes, in the Y chromosome and the X and the mitochondria. One reason is migration. Have you noticed the mitochondria in Africa has remained the same, L1, L2, L3, L0? Why? Those women did not move out of Africa. They stayed. Then these other women, they started moving out of Africa. They stayed in the northern side of Africa. MN is found in northern Africa and the Middle East. You know why? Because the weather in North Africa is not the weather in Southern Africa. So what must have happened is when the African women kept on having children, these children did not stay in Southern Africa, Congo, and Eastern Africa. They moved to the north. Now, when they moved, mutations happened. Then they moved to China. More mutations, because the weather in China is so different from that in Africa that it changes you. Then they went to Europe, mutation. Then they went to South America, mutation. Because each continent has a different climate, different temperature, different food. So all of those things, they change your body. That's why whenever you're eating, you are actually playing with your genes. You are changing them. As I told you, we are dying and living at the same time. If you want to die fast, don't eat. Because when you don't eat, your body is not regenerating. And then what it does, you see why people lose weight when they are fasting? Is because the body cells, when they are not getting chemicals to regenerate from food, they start eating themselves. So they finish the cells. So that is what happens. The body now becomes, so these chicks disappear because the body is now eating itself. It's looking for food. It's looking for chemicals to keep itself alive. So that's what happens. And so when you eat food, food goes to the factories in the body to create your fluids like sperms and eggs. That's why women are encouraged to eat beans, because by eating beans, they restore iron that they have lost when they menstruate. So when the menstruation, so the egg is a combination of the chemicals she has eaten. So this is why children born in Africa of African women are different from children born in Europe of African women. Because those African women, their egg is also going through mutation, unless they have managed to keep their diet the same and they marry amongst themselves, like what has happened to Black Americans. Have you noticed something? I'm still doing research on Black America. I wonder how, of course you can tell the mitochondria of the women, the Black American women, but I wonder whether mutations happen to them. There's a very nice article I read about there are Finnish women who have a mitochondria from North Africa. And the story is very sweet. Is that there were some Finns who took Finnish women to North Africa to be slaves. Yes, white slaves. They were taken. to North Africa, and they were slaves. Then that woman, those women, few of them, they had children in North Africa. Then they went back to Finland. So when scientists did their research, they were so shocked to find Finnish mitochondria in North Africa and very old. Then they realized there were some women who were brought captive from Finland to work as slaves in North Africa. And you don't play with North Africa. You know, that time they were very powerful. The Muslim empire was very powerful, and they used to have slavery. That time it was booming. Leave alone now. Now they do it in secret, underground. That time they were doing it booming. So that's what happened. Anyway, so basically, who knows? Mary's mitochondria is in the world, and you may find you are Mary's descendant mitochondrially. And then also Joseph's Y chromosome could be in the world. Yes, it is in the world. Of course, many people have the view, like the kingdoms in Europe, they believe they are descendants of Jesus Christ. It could be true. Or Judah, the tribe of Judah, David, they are from the line of David. It could be true. But what you have to do is do genetic coding and find out the genetic strand of those families. Then you will know whether they are from Judah. And of course, I know Ethiopia, it's very true. They are actually Jews because Queen Sheba was Ethiopian, and the Haile Selassie, that's why the Rastafarian movement, which we also respect, and is also part of QSTPS Center, they worshipped Rastafari and Haile Selassie because they came from the line of David through Solomon, who had 300 wives. And who knows, you know, in having 300 wives, he could have had 30 different mitochondria. So that's why they were, you see, don't play with Israel when it comes to studying genetics. When they took Ethiopians to Israel, Falasha Jews, it's because it was confirmed genetically, scientifically. And that's why I told you science is God. Scientifically, imagine people as black as me, but they have the blood of Benjamin Netanyahu. Exactly. And they took them. And you see now in Israel, they are still trying to understand it. It's so hard. See the problem of racism. Racism makes you think that somebody who has this color is not my brother. It's wrong. See those Falasha Jews, they are equal to the white Jews. They just look, you know, skin color is because of the weather. Yeah, that's all. It's the weather. Without the sun, Africa sees the sun twice a year. Europe only once. Only once. So it's a fact. You'll have more melanin in Africa than in Europe. Southern Africans are so light because they also see the sun once in a year. But Sudanese and the East Africans and some Nigerians and some West Africans, they are very black because they see the sun twice. Okay, enough of talking about science. Science is very sweet these days, so that's why we can talk. Now let's finish here. So what was Jesus trying to say? Jesus was trying to say that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are not dead, even if they were dead. Because if they are dead, God cannot call himself the God of Abraham. He'd say, remember Abraham, he died. It's not there. Now I want us to finish with a verse in Matthew 7. Is it Matthew 7 or Matthew 8:11? And Jesus said something from 10.
When Jesus heard it, he marveled and said to them that followed, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. As I say unto you, that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. And by the children of the kingdom shall be cast out. You see, this is a very weird thing that Jesus said. Listen to this error in the Bible. So sad. And I say unto you that many shall come and from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
So it's an error. Have you seen an error in Matthew? Yeah, Matthew 8, verse 11 and 12. Because which kingdom is he talking about? The children of the kingdom.
So there's an error in the King James Version of the Bible.
Because
They have not mentioned which kingdom of the children shall be cast into outer darkness. Yet he has said that the people will come, and in the kingdom of heaven they shall sit with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
in the kingdom of heaven. So what am I trying to say? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, according to Jesus, they are alive. They are they are in heaven, and they are seated waiting for people. So whenever people go to die, they go and join them. However, as I've told you, this error is a wrong. I'll talk about Jesus' teachings, and in my opinion, thanks to being in QSTPS, you see, QSTPS, we are an interfaith center. What it means, we do not subscribe to one religion. Yes, we subscribe to all religions in the world, in the sense that we believe, as QSTPS Center, God is in all and through all. That is what we say. Forever and ever, amen. God is in all and through all. Yes, all. Do you know Nebuchadnezzar, who killed Jews, was called the servant of God? It is so sad. You see, that's why Jews are not very religious. They don't want to hear that. Yes, I understand. I perfectly understand Jews. Perfectly. I don't even force them to become Christian. For what? Christianity is not easy. People think it's a very easy thing. The easiest religion, in fact, I advise people to do Hinduism, yoga. Those are easy things. Christianity, my goodness. It is so confusing. It's so confusing. Imagine I've read it from page 1 to last, the Bible, but still it's not clear. It's not clear. Yes, like I've just told you, we've just read that verse. I've read it how many times? And today there's an error. They have not told you which kingdom, the children of the kingdom, which one? They are going to be taken to darkness. Which one? He has only talked about the kingdom of heaven. So what am I trying to say? Christianity is a very complicated religion, and the reason why people now we're going to do another video about education. All religions are education systems. That's why we are reading all of the religions of the world, to understand them. And also, as I shared about religion in another video, I was telling people that the problem is language. Do you know who said that the language we are using is equal to is equal to what we know? You know? Yes. I'm always asking people that when you say this is a face, I mean, who said it is supposed to be called face? You see, language, the world existed before language. That's what you should never forget. Animals have lived in the world without language. They don't even tell you what they call themselves. It is we who gave them names. If you ask a dog, what is your name? It doesn't know. Yes, but it exists. You see, the problem of the dog is not who am I? It is, am I alive? Because when you are alive, that's what matters. It's not who you are. So it's sometimes you don't need to know the language of anything. I used to tell my friends, that's how sex is. Sex is not even about language. Dating, going to talk to someone. No. If you want to have sex, have it. That's how animals have sex. They don't talk to each other. They don't talk to each other. They just have it. When people dance, they have drunk alcohol and dance. They get, which language do they speak that now let's sit down and discuss. What are we going to do after dancing? Are we going? No, they will just dance. Other people, when they drink, they fight. You see, that's what you need to know about life. Some things are not, there are some things we can't understand about life because of language. The language is inadequate. Yes, it's inadequate. Let me tell you, the things where language is adequate is where when you repeat them again and again, then the language for that thing is adequate. What do I mean? Like when you explain the process of breathing, you explain it very well in English. And when you tell me, when you want to breathe well, breathe in, inhale, and exhale. So when I repeat that process, inhale and exhale, that language is adequate. It's a tick, it has passed. But there are certain things, like if I do this, what have I done? Can you explain what I have done? You see, if you can't, the language is inadequate to explain what I've done, but it has not cancelled out the fact that something has happened. So we have to study that movement, of which I'm not even doing what I did. You say I can't repeat it again. This is the power of randomness. Randomness can never be repeated. You see, I've done that. Now I'm trying to remember what I did. But guess what? Thanks to technology, when you switch off this video and you download it and you do slow motion, you are able to get the moves again. And then you will now practice. Then when you practice, then you now do it very fast. So that's the game. That's what technology has done. Technology has made life so simple. Today, if you want to know how to play a song, just play it in slow motion. I remember people were playing with President Trump's voice when he was giving the speech on Mexico, and they were picking where he was breathing. Because the microphone was so strong, they even got to know when he was breathing in and out. So there's somebody who just posted the whole breathing, and I laughed at the video. And I laughed. Okay, so we've concluded there by saying life, I believe that when we die, we leave the planet, but we stay in the planet. What stays in the planet is the body, because it's terrestrial. But what lives, goes to another world, is the spirit, and that's celestial. And of course, I've been having dreams about, and the problem about dreams, though I won't talk about them much now. The problem about dreams is um, dreams, they affect your conscious life. If you're not careful, they can affect your conscious life. And like I remember I had a very interesting dream, very interesting recently. And I went, it's like I was in the throne room of somebody, or God. Let me say God, but throne room. And I was trying to get to that place, and I was in thickness. I was trying to get in, and I was hearing wind. Whoosh, and I saw a white chair, and there was a lot of cloud, and I was like, whoa, what a dream, you know. And of course, I told myself, in my scientific mind, I have my scientific mind also. So I was like, you already know God's throne, there's a throne. You're used to knowing that there's a throne room. But in my spiritual mind, I was like, whoa, I traveled to the throne of God, you know. And I loved that feeling. And this is why I always tell people, as I told you, I'm talking about language. I mean, how is it that God is going to judge people? What language does he speak? And even if he knows all languages, I mean, is it going to be the process we have? That's why I've told people I don't believe even in Judgment Day. It's not there. We are just going to another world. Yeah, that's my understanding. There's no Judgment Day. One reason why I say there's no Judgment Day is because the first prophets never mentioned it. They never. This was a teaching that was derived. You see what happens in the world when people have judgment, when humans create courts and legal systems, we think that these legal systems will be repeated in the other world. That's why next time I'll do another video about Plato. Plato said, as it is above, so it is below. Now, Plato's philosophy was people who make things like an item. Like this pen. This pen, according to Plato, the inventor had to think about it. He wanted something, so he thought of a pen. Then he made it. So it was produced, but it could not have been produced without thinking. So the pen was in the brain, and then he made it. So now, what am I trying to say? But Aristotle and the other Greek philosophers were different. They don't believe the world you think of the world from within. Aristotle was more scientific in the sense that, and Plato was more spiritual, in the sense that for Aristotle, the matter has to enter you and then comes to the brain, then you produce the thing. That is what Aristotle thought, the scientific Greek philosophers. For them, their understanding of life is you create from outside. What you see comes in, then, like, I think what Aristotle is trying to say, like your fingers, don't they look like a pen? You see? Very similar. So, in Aristotle's science, I need a pen to write. So I am writing with my fingers. So I've noticed, my finger can help me write, but it's not a very good tool. So I think about it, and then I create a pen that looks like a finger, but it's better because I wanted something that was better than the finger. So according to the Aristotle science, you create because of what you've already seen. So if we never had fingers, if we were like this, According to Aristotle's science, you would never think of making a pen because you've never seen a straight thing like this. And imagine if the men's organ was never like that. You would never think of a pen. Imagine if there was a thing that was not rectangular or rod-like. You would never think of making a rod-like thing. So according to, that's why to me, pyramids are man-made mountains. Because humans saw mountains, then they thought, what if we build something that looks like a mountain? That's my belief. That's where I can give Aristotle some marks, is that we create because we see. That's Aristotle. But Plato, Platonic philosophy is someone has to have a brain for them to create. So most people who are stand in Plato's philosophy are artists. That's why Christians believe in the theory intelligent design. Because a designer thinks, a designer is very, very creative. A designer just does this. That's a design. Then he repeats it. Oh, pa, 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 pa. That's a design. Even music. Musicians are designers. They design sound. See, that's a design. So, they do that. The sound I've produced, have they come from outside? No, I've just thought of them. So Platonic science it comes from within and then comes out. That's why artists, they just draw anything. Let me draw something. See, an artist, you see that? That's a scribble. Have you ever seen something like this in your life? No. Yes. You've never seen it. It came from my thinking and the pen. Not even my thinking. And that's another thing about abstract art. Abstract art is unconscious. Yeah? It's not, I didn't think about this design. And if I can't explain it to you now, mathematically, the mathematics in abstract art is so complicated. Complicated because what is this shape? Let's see. What is those shapes? What are those? But a square, it has shape that can be mathematically deduced. And this is the war we have in the world. The war we have in the world, computers, artificial computers are not artistic as humans. Humans are very artistic. So as long as we don't that's where AI is really not going to be so as powerful as it can be, because AI, you can predict its outcomes. The outcomes of AI are finite. But a design like this one is infinite. Infinite. Let's say this is a road. See? This is a road from here. Do you know this can be a road network? Yes. It can be a road network. And that's how people live life. I want to go here, but first I'll go this place, then I'll go there, then I'll go there. Then when you started going, then you change your mind. No, let me turn this way. Then, if you have a computer car, it can even crash. You see, the Google Maps that are now put in cars, they can go crazy. This is why some of the Google cars had accidents. It's because it's being driven by an artistic human. Yes, humans are artistic. We are naturally artistic. and some are more artistic than others. And a map is not necessarily artistic because it is measurable and it has finite distances. So this map is fed into the AI computer and it will tell you turn left. And it's not so sure what. Oh, sometimes I used to say artificial intelligence is also artificial stupidity because sometimes the computer tells you to turn left, but you know the way. There's another way you can get there. So it's do you know even you can veer off the road that is a pavement and get to that side of the road. But the AI computer will not tell you that. It will tell you stick to the tarmac. But let's say there's a tarmac here, road, and then, okay, the road is here. This is the road. Let's put it like this. This is the road. Then here, this fist is the pavement. Then there's a road coming here. So AI will tell you, go for 5 meters, then take a left turn.